We like to think the First Amendment is settled law. You know, freedom of speech, freedom of religion, and freedom from government-imposed religion. And yet here we are. Across the country, politicians are pushing prayer into public schools, blurring church-state boundaries, and claiming it's all about religious freedom, even when it means the government picking winners and losers based on belief. The Freedom from Religion Foundation exists to do one very unglamorous but very necessary thing: hold the government to the Constitution. FFRF works through education, advocacy, and the courts to keep public institutions neutral on religion. Not anti-religion, just pro-democracy. If you care about civil liberties, pluralism, and a country that actually belongs to all of us, visit ffrf.us/New Year or text STATE to 511-511 to learn more and join. Text STATE to 511-511. Help protect a country that belongs to all of us. Visit ffrf.us/New Year or text STATE to 511-511 today. Text fees may apply.
Sir, is how you might bow to a whore on a street corner, not to the Emperor of Nilfgaard. He's Welsh.
Hey, everybody. Welcome once again to the Weekly Show podcast with Jon Stewart. My name is Jon Stewart, and we're going to be talking. This has been, I feel like the news of the world has so matched the climate here in the Northeast, which is dark and gray and apocalyptic, and this feeling that we are hurtling towards something just truly unimaginable and inexplicable. And it's why today, I just don't even want to fucking deal with it right now. In all these different ways, today's show is going to be slightly different. Where once again, every now and again, we love to bring on experts, people of such regard and note, to come and play with me like, let's say, a person with a cat and like a little string toy. Me being, of course, the cat, those individuals being the person. And today we want to talk about, our ability as a country to fix the seemingly intractable systemic problems, more economic. And who better to do that with than an economist, and an economist that has in some ways changed the way that economists talk about the incentives that go into our economy. He is a behavioral economist, which is something I didn't even know that there was. But a brilliant thinker, and another in our continuing series of brilliant thinkers. We obviously had Jeffrey Hinton on, who explained to me in childlike terms what AI actually is, and I'm sure this guest will be no different. So I'm excited to get to it. Let's jump in now. Richard Thaler. So, ladies and gentlemen, in our ongoing efforts to entertain and educate, we once again are going to welcome someone to the program who is so accomplished and smart that it'll be entertaining to watch him play with me like a monkey with a small grape. That's right. Our guest today, a professor from the University of Chicago, an American economist, the founding father, one of the founding fathers of behavioral economics, and awarded a Nobel Prize in Econ in 2017, which I assume he will be giving to Donald Trump, because that's where everybody has to give their Nobel Prizes. But please, Richard Thaler, thank you for joining us today.
It's a pleasure, John.
So, most people think of economists as macroeconomists, microeconomists. Then there's this idea, you sort of created this field called behavioral economics. So if you could just very briefly, and I apologize for the remedial nature of it, what is behavioral economics? How does it differ from what we consider to be kind of traditional economics? And how did you even think of it?
Yeah. So I'll use one fancy word you may not know, which is pleonasm.
Please.
Pleonasm.
Wait, what?
Pleonasm.
Wow.
So there's a guy smarter than me named Herb Simon who wrote a definition of behavioral economics and said, the phrase seems like a pleonasm. What is that? A redundant phrase. Meaning, what other kind of economics could there be? Presumably, economics is about the behavior of people in markets.
Yes.
Right?
Thank you.
So, Why do we need that? Well, the reason we need that is standard economics leaves out the people. They're all about the markets. And then there are firms and workers and governments and countries and consumers. They're all people. You pick up a big economics textbook, you'll not see the word people. There are agents. And these agents they're kind of like Spock in the old Star Trek series.
Logical.
Very
Rational.
logical and maximizing. They're as smart as the smartest economist.
So when economists make a model in terms of how a market is going to behave, the assumptions that they make are that the people that make up the model are logical, rational, and will behave in the manner that maximizes value in the model. Would that be right?
Yes. And they do that in part because that's the easiest kind of model to write down.
It works out simple.
Right. I mean, suppose you tried to write down a model of John wandering through Costco, choosing the optimal stuff to put in a basket, right? I mean, no one can solve that problem. It's too hard. So you simplify the modeling task by saying, okay, he's going to choose the best bundle. And the math is easy.
Right.
And then they add to that an assumption that people are selfish jerks.
Well,
because that...
I mean... I don't want to say anything, but that seems like a relatively simple assumption.
Okay. So the idea is, well, what if we introduce some people? Because there are people run firms, people interact in markets. In fact, more and more people are interacting in markets every which way. You can, right? You can bet on anything now.
But how would that manifest? So if I'm an economist and I want to make a model about, and I assume they model what would be the most efficient market for cereal, and they want to model how you would create that, how would introducing what you're suggesting change economic modeling, which I assume means you would be changing how policy is created, because policy, I would assume then, is downstream from economic modeling.
Right. Good.
Okay.
So let's start with a simple experiment.
Please.
We go into a classroom. I actually brought a prop.
What?
A mug.
What are you, Carrot Top? What are we doing here?
Yeah, I got a
you're
mug.
a professor.
I got a mug here.
All right.
Now, so what we did was we go into a classroom and we put a mug. I was teaching at Cornell at the time, so it was a Cornell insignia.
Safety school. Let's just point out very quickly, safety school. All right.
Yeah. Okay. William and
sir. We don't have time for this.
Okay. No slurs. So Cornell's a very fine school.
Yes.
So every other student has a mug sitting in front of them.
Okay.
And their neighbor doesn't get a mug. Okay. Now we have a market for the mugs. And we say, if you have a mug, John, you can sell it. Here's a price list. If it's $10, will you sell it or keep it? $9.50. And then you go down until, okay, I'll sell at $8, but I won't at $7.50.
Okay.
All right. And then the guy sitting next to you doesn't have a mug. He has a price list. At each of the following prices, will you buy? Okay? So half the people are buyers, half of them are potential sellers.
Okay.
So the mug's worth will be determined in this market.
Okay.
Now, what does economic theory say? It says the value you put on that mug should not depend on whether it's sitting right in front of you or on the desk next to you. Right? Mm-hmm. Well, It turns out, so the mugs are distributed at random.
Sorry to spoil your fun.
What we should see is,
Fantasies about the craft.
let's rank the people from highest to lowest on how much they like that one of those
But
mugs.
there you will have the help of our mutual acquaintance.
The half that like mugs the most should end up with them.
Tris Marigold.
Yes.
Apparently she's
That's what
proposed-
traditional economics would tell you.
Right.
Okay.
So about half the mugs should change hands.
Oh, they're saying that they're assuming that there is a rationality to people's affection for the mugs.
Well, that it doesn't depend
Or
on...
randomized.
We
value.
did randomize,
Okay.
right? They were handed out at random.
Yeah.
And the assumption is that the value you put on that mug shouldn't depend on whether it's sitting directly in front of you or adjacent to you.
All right.
Or, in other words, whether you now own it. And that will be the key phrase. And we'll come back to that.
Right.
Okay?
You do realize I am failing this class right now.
Yep. No, John, you're
I am
asking.
lost.
You're doing great. You know.
All right.
You know.
All right, here we go.
At current grade levels.
Yes, sir.
A++.
Oh, that's very kind of you, sir. Do I have a mug?
You know, you can buy one.
All right.
All right.
I didn't get a mug. Fair enough.
Okay, so what happens? The people who have the mugs
Oh, and
really don't want to sell
you
them.
look quite dashing in black velvet.
The people who don't have mugs aren't all that interested in buying one.
There's no market.
Same
There is a market,
And if you wish
but
to
the
learn what's
people who
happening
have a
in the
mug
field,
demand
around the
about
world,
twice as much
talk Ambassador
to give it
Barnes.
up
That's him over there.
as the ones who don't have a mug are willing to buy
I
it.
know it's
Oh.
wartime.
So instead of half the mugs trading,
Just check those leads and come back to me.
we get about 20%.
Okay.
I shall
So,
be waiting.
what's the lesson? You know this old Stephen Sill song, Love the One You're With?
Sure.
I call this the endowment effect. That if you're endowed with something, you want to keep it. You won't give it up. But you don't have it? Okay, if the price is right, I'll buy it.
Right.
This is a phenomenon we call loss aversion. That if you have something, you're going to fight like hell to keep it.
Mm-hmm.
If you don't have it, it's a mug,
The mug experiment is the genesis of behavioral economics. If I can sum this up, because traditional economics would say half the mugs would change hands based on value in markets and how they should operate in terms of people that have something and people that don't and people that want it. But what you found is only 20% changed hands because of behavioral tendencies that were not included in the model.
Correct. A+.
Come on, brother.
With no witnesses, so let's dispense with the propaganda, even that shrouded in irony.
I'm going to give you guys a little insight into who I am as an individual. There's nothing that I enjoyed more than what I like to call a little breakfast for dinner. Now, breakfast for dinner, it's a treat. It takes me back to the childhood when you felt like, remember you get breakfast for dinner and you were like, we're breaking all the rules. What? Scrambled eggs? Where am I? What world is this? Magic Spoon, it gives you that feeling. Saturday morning cereal. Well, you get there 13 grams of protein, 0 sugar, 5 grams of net carbs per serving, which is how I always chose my cereals when I was younger. I used to say to my mother growing up, what's my net carbs here? What, 5 grams, 7 grams? What are we dealing with? How much protein in this bowl of chocolate Dracula cereal? That's right, Count Chocula. Man, did I eat like crap. But this stuff, Magic Spoon, keeps you fueled, whether it's breakfast, late night snack, post-workout, whatever it is. Magic Spoon. Look for Magic Spoon on Amazon or at your nearest grocery store. There are plant-based versions of the cereal as well. Even vegans get to feel like they had a childhood. You'll find vegan options at Whole Foods. Or get $5 off your next order at magicspoon.com/TWS. That's magicspoon.com/TWS for $5 off.
Yet indecisive. Both sides suffered enormous losses.
So, This all sounds, if I may, insane to me, because there could be somebody who is like
People have called me worse.
a mug fetishist, but the idea that economics don't take into account, because buy low, sell high takes into account greed. It takes into account you're trying to get value. It seems like basic economics does.
No, here, let me give you an example.
Yeah.
Suppose that your uncle gives you an inheritance.
Sentimental. Is it a mug or is it something different?
It's like 1,000 shares of some stock.
Okay. But my uncle gave it to me.
Your uncle gave it to you.
All right.
So you send it over to your wealth manager or broker or whatever.
All right. The 1,000 shares I got from my uncle. All
Yeah.
right.
And then the question is, do you keep them? Let's ignore taxes.
Okay. Do I keep the shares or do I sell them?
Or do you put them into an index fund.
Okay.
Well, economic theory would say the fact that if there are no tax issues, the fact you got those shares from your uncle, if you wouldn't have owned 1,000 shares of that company before, you shouldn't now. Just put it in with all the other stuff.
Don't do anything with it.
No,
Just keep
you
it.
should. No, not just keep it. Diversify the way you would everything else.
So those 1,000 shares should be turned into, some should be in higher risk, some should be in medium risk, some should be in fixed income. I should split that up in the manner that I would split up any asset that I have.
Exactly.
That's what standard economic theory would say.
Right.
Standard economic theory says the best thing I would do is to do that, but behavioral economics says I won't do that for a variety of reasons. One being maybe I'm lazy, two being maybe I have sentimental value to my uncle, and therefore those 1,000 shares are the only thing I have to remember him by. Apparently, I didn't take any pictures. I just have this 1,000 share inherited. So I'm not going to do that. And so the standard economics misses all those externalities that are part of the human condition, and therefore their models suck.
Well, we'll not make a value judgment quite
Too
yet.
pejorative. Too
pejorative. You can say that. But let me just add that notice one result of this experiment is people have a tendency to just stick with what they have. So if they got a mug, they're much more likely to end up with it than if they didn't get a mug.
Okay, I see. Okay. Possession, 9/10 of the law. So, and standard economics doesn't take in possession. And how far would this possession theory skew economic models if they don't take it into account? For instance, I have a house, so the theory of economics would be I will continue to try and get better, more valuable housing or diversify rather than just holding it since I have it.
Yeah, and it's that particular house. So we call this status quo bias.
Okay.
People have a tendency to just stick with what they have.
Yes, a body at rest tends to stay at rest.
Exactly.
Do they really not take this into account in standard economics? That seems insane to me. Like, is that really something they don't consider?
They would consider it if there's transaction costs, but in the stock example, there are none. The cost of changing 1,000 shares of Google into, put that money into an index fund will cost you $10, right? So if it was an offer to buy your house,
Yes.
then there would be costs to moving and
Yeah, it's a pain in the ass.
Right. But for most things, the economist would assume that because the cost of switching things around is low, we can ignore it.
So how does this manifest in markets? Because the reason why I want to talk about this, and
Right.
I'll give the broader example, is, things like climate policy or the ACA or those kinds of things. These are solutions to, because economics is in some ways, it's the lubricant that we use to create solutions to problems or better conditions for people's lives, and how that affects all that. And I think the premise here is that standard economics misses, and so the solutions that we design for the problems in our lives are ill-conceived.
Great. So let's take climate change as an example.
Great.
All economists, including this one, think that the first thing we should have done when we figured out there was climate change is impose a carbon tax.
Wait, most economists think that?
Yes.
May I suggest that that's incorrect?
You may, but I'm included in those.
Can I say why I think it's incorrect?
Yeah, sure.
So the minute you put a carbon tax on, people see their energy prices go up, and you will no longer be serving in office politically.
Okay, but all right, then we're in agreement. What I'm saying is, if you're God or king, or president, and you could say, all right, what policy should we have? Then the correct policy is the one that sets the prices to give people the incentive. So if we increase the cost of heating your home,
yes,
to reflect the externality, the cost you're imposing on other people, then you'll have the correct incentives to put in solar or insulate or switch to a heat pump or whatever. And so, yeah, we run a poll of expert economists every couple of weeks at the University of Chicago, and there is one on that, and yeah, everybody says, yeah, that would be the ideal policy.
So they're saying a carbon tax would be the thing to solve the climate crisis, because rather than changing the behavior, you have to make using fossil fuels, which are the driver of climate change, so much more expensive that it changes people's behaviors because they won't change behavior on their own. Is that standard economics, or is that behavioral economics?
No, that's standard economics.
That's standard.
That's standard.
Feels behavioral, but that's standard.
No, because it's standard because it's just changed the price. And then the alternative is we say you're not allowed to have, we can't have cars that get less than such and such gas mileage.
Which we've done.
We have, right. So we have lots of regulations.
Okay.
We essentially don't have a carbon tax.
So the way we do it is, so standard economics, what they say is, we have a series of either incentives or regulations. So it would sort of be a mix of subsidies and regulations, and that is how we will manage the energy market while also keeping an eye on trying to reduce emissions. And that's how economists would design a program to solve it. So we've done that with, we subsidize solar, we subsidize electric vehicles, and we regulate the miles that they must get there, and they must have a catalytic converter. All that is what you would consider to be standard economic theory.
No. So we're almost there.
I am fucking this up.
You are not. You're not. So what economists would say is, we don't need all those rules and regulations. Just set the price right.
But doesn't the market set the price? Isn't that free markets?
No. The carbon tax will automatically raise the price of a Hummer, of operating a Hummer, because it only gets 8 miles to the gallon compared to some EV. So we don't have to regulate. All we have to do is get the price right. That's standard economics.
And then the market will change. But isn't that just an intervention? How is that a market? That's just the government saying, if we set a price that is unreasonable, the market will behave.
It's just setting the price so that you have the incentive to act in a way that's best for society.
But that's not economics. Economics doesn't take into account what's best for society.
Yes,
It takes
yes, it does. Yes,
what? Wait a minute.
John,
Wait a minute.
let me
Hold on here.
economists know about externalities. And now, here's the point I want to make.
Yeah.
We don't have carbon taxes. Why?
Yeah.
Because, and you started with this, so you got to the answer right away. You got to this because people hate taxes. They hate high prices.
Got company.
So what do we have? We have lots of subsidies.
Yes.
We have no taxes.
Well, we have, that's not exactly, I mean, we have gas taxes. Like if you go to California, it's very different than buying gas in New York.
Correct.
Or very different than buying gas in Minnesota or,
That's right.
All
But
right.
even in high gasoline tax states, the taxes on emissions are still way too low compared to what they should be.
Compared to what they should be if our goal is to reduce carbon emissions.
Right.
But that's not the goal of economics. The goal of economics in a capitalist system is to make the most amount of money for your shareholders. So my point is, since when is economics about improving the human condition and not just making money for the companies that are extracting the fossil fuels from the earth? Isn't that everything else is interventionist?
Go away.
Okay, so I did not anticipate that my role here was going to be as the defender of neoclassical economics, but here I am.
We're here, baby.
I am here,
All
and my economist friends will be proud that I'm defending them.
All right, beautiful.
So, look, there's an economist named Arthur Pigou.
Oh, Pagoo's work is, I don't miss an essay.
Yeah. So, no, he died 100 years ago, but
that's what I meant.
Anyway, there are Pigouvian taxes. So in any economics textbook, it will say that if you're causing some harm, then the way to fix it is to charge you for the harm you're causing so that you will decide just the right amount of harm.
Is Pagouvian familiar with the 2008 financial crisis?
Well,
Because that is not what happens.
Okay, now, I'm not saying any economist thinks that we have these optimal policies. What I'm
That's how
saying
it's
is
supposed to work.
that's the way any economist basically would have advised, take any council of economic advisors before this one, because they always had real economists. They would all be saying something similar to, well, what we really should do is this. But then they would say, but it's true, boss, that people hate taxes. And if they're Republicans, they really hate taxes. But we all hate paying taxes. And so we'll subsidize EVs. We won't tax Hummers. And we won't tax gas, and we won't tax... So, and that all goes back to the mugs. That it's because we hate losing more than we like winning. So what we'll do is we'll have all these policies where we subsidize you to do the right thing as opposed to penalizing you via prices for doing the wrong thing.
Folks, you love coffee, but you think the names are lame? Sanka, Maxwell House. Lame. I don't want to drink somebody's house. Well, this episode is brought to you by Ninja Luxe Cafe. That's an espresso maker that's bringing your favorite coffee shop into your home, and it has a cool name, so you can feel decent about drinking it. This Ninja Luxe Cafe espresso machine, it gives you the quality brew without having to give the barista your name and then have them read it dripping with contempt. Maybe you're a latte guy, latte gal, I don't know. I'm going to finish it with fancy microphone. They got that too. Barista Assist Technology handles the details. Grinding, weighing, brewing. You don't have to. Ninja Luxe Cafe makes cafe quality without the guesswork and without the drive. Your coffee shop. Listeners of this show get $60 off the Ninja Luxe Cafe Premier Series with code Stewart exclusively on sharkninja.com while supplies last. That's $60 off the Ninja Luxe Cafe Premier Series with code Stewart exclusively on sharkninja.com while supplies last. This is the problem, I think, that we get to then with the economics, because let's say we'll bring it back to climate policy.
Yeah.
What I'm suggesting is all markets are designed to some extent. We sort of have this fiction that we live in a free market where it's only the rules of supply and demand, and that our policies have to, basically give way to these market forces that, if left to their own devices, will solve these. What I'm getting at is government intervention in markets is seen as a negative and paternalistic, anti-capitalist movement where muckety-mucks and elites design systems that are not as efficient and functioning as capitalist markets. But we all know that that's a fiction, that we intervene in markets the big thing is always the government's not supposed to pick winners and losers, but they do it all the time, and they've done it since time immemorial as governments.
Okay, so there are two different issues here. Putting a tax on a bad like pollution isn't interfering with markets. It's making the market efficient in the sense that the price people are paying reflects the cost they impose on others.
Calm down.
And it's not picking winners and losers. It's picking, there will be losers, people who like to drive gas-guzzling cars will lose, but we're not aiming it at them. It's a free choice.
No, they won't lose because, let's say, that's because they have the money to burn. It doesn't affect them. In other words, the downstream cost of the pollution that they create won't affect them because they are buffeted either by geography or wealth. So that the tax itself is...
No, but look, let's think of what we did. What did we do? We subsidized EVs, and who was the beneficiary of that? Mostly rich guys.
But we also, the EPA regulated what you could put out into the environment. I mean, that's how we got cleaner air when the government regulated what you could actually do.
That's true, but the choice to have subsidies and regulations, it benefited some companies versus others. I mean, Tesla was a big beneficiary of this.
Exactly. No, I'm saying government always picks winners and losers and then pretends like that's something that they can't do. Like,
well, but
Donald Trump's a great example. He's like, government can't pick winners and losers. Oh, NVIDIA, I'll let you sell chips to China if you give me, or Intel, how about this? I'll take 10% of your company. Like, I guess what I'm saying is, aren't we all operating under a fiction? And if we were more honest about the way economies worked, we could be more honest about the way we solve some of these larger scale problems.
So, okay, you're skipping one step ahead.
I don't want to do that. Take me back. Take me back.
In a world where we don't know any of the people in any of the companies, so we're back in the world of inside an economist's head.
Oh,
we just have, there are firms and there are people, and there's something people are doing that causes harm to others. The solution to that all economists agree to is put a price on that bad and then let the market clear, and the people who produce bads will suffer, And if they're poor, they'll suffer more, but that's true of all policies. And that part is uncontroversial. I'm not saying that's a world we live in. In fact, my point is...
So economists don't live in the world that we live in.
No, they live... They would say they would call this a first best, meaning if they could design everything, that's the way they would do it. They would try to make the prices reflect the harms that are people causing and then let the chips fall where they may. That's very different from giving contracts to your buddies,
Right.
which, has been going on at the local level as long as there have been politicians and buddies. We've just taken it to new levels.
Is the idea of behavioral economics to help economists get more grounded in what the actual externalities are? Is that the point? Because the way you're describing economists and the way that they talk about the economy seems utterly removed from reality to some extent.
No. Okay, so here's where...
I'm the worst student you have ever had.
Oh, John, you are so far from that. These are very good questions.
All right, let's get to it.
All right, so the point I want to start with is economists don't have a good answer to the question, why do we have only subsidies rather than taxes?
Mm-hmm.
Because as far as economists are concerned, they're the same. It's just a sign. If we subsidize the good thing or tax the bad thing, if there are red mugs and blue mugs and the red mugs...
In their model, they see no distinction between a subsidy and a tax. And what you're saying is a tax is actually much worse than a subsidy in real world economics because people view losses as more damaging than wins, which is the subsidy.
Perfect. You nailed it.
All right.
So if we're trying to understand the world, it's important to understand this thing about losses and about status quo bias.
Payment for a sack of grain.
That people tend to stick with what they have, and we can use that to help or hurt people.
So how would you, taking behavioral economics, staying with the climate model, if an economist would say, it really makes no difference whether you do a tax or a subsidy, but very clearly we only do subsidies, so somebody must understand the political realities of all this. How would a behavioral economist stop? Because here's what I'm trying to get to. We've understood since the 70s that the world is warming through our climate policies. They've had Kyoto treaties, and they've had giant conferences every year where everybody flies private jets to discuss how we're going to change fossil fuels. And they all work through subsidies and caps and cap and trade and net neutrality and all these different goals and things. And nothing has really changed. We've made certainly advances in solar and wind and batteries and EVs, but the energy needs of the world continue to spiral, and AI and my point is everything we've done has been utterly inadequate. And I guess I'm trying to figure out what are we misunderstanding about the solutions, and how can behavioral economics give us a better angle on it than the standard economics and the standard political realities, which have failed us. How would you change the way?
Okay, good.
Yeah.
So what have we done? Almost 20 years ago, I wrote a book with Cass Sunstein called Nudge.
Yes, I remember Nudge.
It was a book about how we can help in this kind of situation.
Mm-hmm.
And so here's one example. All right, we're in this world where gas-guzzling cars are too cheap. And we all would like to put a tax on that, but we can't. Well, one thing we can do is we can put labels on the cars telling you how much it's going to cost you to operate this car.
Mm-hmm.
Well, that will help a little.
Right. Like
Right?
a food labeling will help you with health. And if people see like, oh, this car is going to cost me $6,000 a year to buy gas for, this other car is going to cost me $3,000 a year to buy gas for, that's a piece of information that will help me make a decision. And that decision, we think, will also be better for the environment.
Right.
And so those are little things, nudges that move us in the right direction.
Right. Another example is you probably get a utility bill that I'm guessing you personally don't look at
Oh, I look at it every day.
that tells you how much energy you use compared to your neighbors with a similar house.
Ooh. You're going with
And-
shame. Shame, you're going with economic benefit and then also shame.
And patting on the back.
Ah,
Right?
yeah.
If you've put in solar or a heat pump,
All right.
John, most guys with McMansions
You are
like yours.
misunderstanding my neighborhood, sir. They would in no way. They'd be like, what are you, a pussy? What are you doing over there?
Okay, so
Yeah.
in any case, my co-author, Cass Sunstein, was the so-called regulation czar for
Yeah.
President Obama for a while, and his job was to make sure all the regulations that were being passed did more good than bad.
A series of nudges that would incentivize people through a variety of psychological, some would say manipulations, but understanding that could drive our economy incrementally to a more positive climate future. Let me ask you a question.
Yeah.
Are we in a nudge economy, or should you write a book called Shove? Because, it feels like the incentives and subsidy taxes are all inadequate to address the reality of people's behavior and
Yeah.
the
okay.
totality of what we face. Why aren't we redesigning the entire systems?
So, nudge has two sets of critics.
Okay.
One you could think of as complete free market guys that's saying, go away, let markets do it.
Yeah, but they live in La La Land.
Yeah. Then there are the others who are saying, come on, we have to tell people what to do. My next book should be called Shove.
Yes. Let me. Yeah. You go ahead, and then I'll explain why I think I'm different than those two. But go ahead.
There's at least one of my colleagues has written such a book, and I will point out to that person and you
Yeah.
that if we're in that world, sometimes Trump is president. So if we want to design a system where the government just tells us what to do as opposed to nudge us, wouldn't that be worse?
Well, first of all, the government tells us what to do all the time. I mean, any regulation and all those kinds of things.
But you're saying we should
shove.
shove.
Let me explain what I'm saying.
All right, do it.
So when I say shove, I don't mean the government saying to people, you are not allowed to use this much electricity, or you are not allowed to use this much gas. When I say shove, it means understanding what the 10,000 years of human endeavor and progress on this earth really means. We are a species that if shit's easier, we will do it that way. Like the horse didn't go by the wayside of the car because, of anything other than like, wait a minute, I can get there in half the time and not have the smell of horse shit? Done. Like, we are incentivized to, you've given me a product that makes my life easier. We don't care where the electricity comes from. When I say shove, it's this. It's stop thinking incrementally about the subsidies and the thing. People want the convenience that modern life has provided them, whether they live in the global south or whether they live in our thing. And shove means these incremental systems, and with all its political peril and all those things, aren't what's actually going to solve the problem. Shove means looking at mitigating the damage that human beings in all their greed and convenience need. In other words, shove is not telling people what to do. It's getting scientists to help us clean up this mess, meaning carbon capture or other types of models, because what you won't be able to do through a series of nudges is make people not want the most efficient, convenient, cheapest thing that they can possibly get. And anything that doesn't take that into account is naive. So I'm not suggesting a paternalistic government that decides, oh my God, climate changes and we've got to be better people. And how do we incentivize everyone to be better people? I don't think my view is you can't. You actually need to think completely differently and create a model that creates robust markets in damage mitigation and carbon mitigation.
Right.
That's my position.
Okay, but what I would say is that position is identical to the one that you mocked.
Whoa!
As
Whoa!
the standard economic prescription, which is set the prices right, and then people will have all the incentive to invent the new technologies to solve it. If the carbon prices are right, then people are going to pour all kinds of money.
That's only one way of doing it, though. Setting the carbon price is not necessarily the only way to do it. The other way to do it is create a market for mitigation. That's what I'm saying. It's not just about carbon.
There will be a market for mitigation, but if it doesn't cost you much to emit carbon, then people won't buy it.
No, it's not that people will buy it. It's that you need to create a market for profit for companies, not people.
That John,
am I nuts?
Yeah. Yep.
You know what's interesting about the avocado? And I've never really thought about this, but when you cut it open, you get that perfect little scoop with the little indentation. Have you ever thought to yourself, I bet that's comfortable to sleep in? Almost looks like a body shape where you could just lie there. And that's the genius of our sponsors, Avocado Green Mattress. They've taken the beauty of the restful beauty of the inside of an avocado and turned it into a mattress. It's not made of avocados, obviously. That thing would spoil in, 30 seconds. But it's called Avocado Green Mattress. They sell mattresses, pillows, solid wood furniture. What more do you need? And no pits. It's all made from materials designed to support healthier living and more restorative sleep. Made without the harmful chemicals. Can actual avocados say that? Probably not. They only use certified organic, non-toxic materials. They even have sleep trials, of up to a year to make sure you get the best mattress for you. Avocado Green Mattress, it's brilliant. Avocado, dream of better. And now they're having a great sale on mattresses. Go to avocadogreenmattress.com/TWS to get up to 15% off. avocadogreenmattress.com/TWS for up to 15% off mattresses. avocadogreenmattress.com/TWS. But then explain to me how nudge is going to, everything we've been talking about is this is an urgent crisis, and all the nudging and subsidies is only incrementally inching us to something. Meanwhile, you have a whole global south that hasn't developed the progress at the pace that in the global north has. And now we're telling them you have to do it through these series of subsidies and markets. That seems unrealistic. It seems more realistic to go to Exxon or wherever they are and go, we'll give you a shit ton of money if you can figure out how to clean carbon out of our atmosphere.
Well, but we wouldn't have to go to them to do that if the prices were right.
But what I'm saying is, if you live in the reality of the world, look at the Yellow Vest movement in Europe. Like, even Europe with their, we're doing the right thing and we ride our bikes everywhere. When you set the carbon price not to the market of supply and demand, but to the idea of what would be best for the world, you make yourself politically untenable. And and that's to me the largest problem.
We're in agreement. And
You just said I was out in wait a minute.
No, we are in agreement. But John, you want to have it both ways.
Professor, when are your office hours, Professor? I'm coming in there. This grade, C-.
Man,
Come on,
you know
man.
what? I've given you office hours at 8 a.m. California time. This is the first time I've ever had office hours at 8 o'clock in the morning, John.
Sir, point taken.
And I have a long career.
Point taken.
So
Objection sustained.
You know, you have office hours anytime you want, but it's going to be starting at 10 my time, henceforth.
Works better for me too.
So let me move to one direction.
Yes.
GPS.
Okay.
If you have to, you do leave home occasionally, I hear.
Pretty occasionally, sir.
Yeah.
That's not a ton.
Yeah. You know,
Pretty comfortable.
Before we get off the topic of status quo bias.
Yes.
You know, some people have called me the first clinical economist. That I
Because of the psychological aspect of what you do.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I think there is some danger you suffer from status quo bias syndrome.
Oh. Tell me more. You know, I'm always up for having a new illness.
Yeah. Doesn't like leaving home.
Yeah. No questions asked there.
Starts every show with some left-handed scribbling.
Yes, sir.
Looks sort of panic.
Oh, by the way, if anybody would see it, there is no artistry there. It is really, it's
Brittany
just...
and her team
Yes,
have been
our producers. Yeah.
Yeah, they tell me that there's a lot of status quo bias syndrome in our boss.
You're saying inertia. There's a lot of inertia.
Yeah,
I got you.
I would add continuing to root for the Mets for.
Oh, sir. Yeah. No, I'm. If you're saying that I somehow seem to be in love with the type of pain, masochism runs in my family.
I'm going to get in a lot of trouble for the following statement, and then I will move on.
Yes, please.
I don't think there's anything wrong with firing your team.
Oh, sir, you're treading on very dangerous ground right now.
I also grew up in New Jersey.
This type of heresy, sir. Galileo was killed for less, sir.
Yeah, I know. We could both. Right. We may not want to air this episode, but because I think we both could get burned at the stake.
Not at all.
But I grew up in North Jersey, so I grew up a Yankees fan.
Yes.
In the Mantle and Maris glory years.
Sure.
And then I grew to hate George Steinbrenner. And in my class on managerial decision making, I had one of my rules: don't be like George Steinbrenner.
Fair enough.
Okay.
You're saying don't go to jail for any violations of certain shipping rules?
I mean, don't hire and fire the same manager 3 times.
Okay. But George Steinbrenner did win championships.
He did, but not in a way that
you enjoyed.
Or I approved of.
Okay.
And so I fired the Yankees.
All right.
And I'm just saying you should,
Yes. But after you fired the Yankees, they apparently still had a job. So what I'm saying is that firing has no impact.
Look, my son suffers from this. When he was a kid, he fell in love with the Dolphins.
Great uniform. Dan Marino, I'm assuming that was the Dan Marino era.
Great uniform. His wife and 2 daughters,
Yeah.
they live in San Francisco. They all adopted the Niners. But they have to put up with that turquoise and orange.
Yeah.
The costs he's imposed.
So is the point you're making here, if I may, is the point you're making that I am not giving humankind enough credit for an ability to adapt to understanding that the long-term harms that our short-term actions are taking are damaging us, and that if I'm just nudging them enough, we will understand that the short-term pleasure is not worth the long-term harm.
No, I mean, what I was just doing is giving you a little shit. But let's get back to climate change.
You can calm down.
Yeah.
GPS is my favorite kind of nudge. And I have I'm sort of geographically dyslexic.
Right.
And GPS is like saved me. I can wander around in a strange city and find my way back to my hotel all by myself. Normally, I need my wife
You're a
leading
big
me
boy.
by the hand.
Yes.
Now, and my mantra is design policies, make it easy.
Yes.
That's my mantra, make it easy.
You and I are agreeing. And you
Okay.
can't tell people to go back to paper maps because, so let's say we found out that GPS emits something through the towers that they use in the satellites that is heating the environment. Nudging people back to maps isn't going to work. And so what I'm saying is you have to create shoves that create new avenues and new incentives that allow people to still enjoy the benefits of that progress while mitigating the you have to look at
we don't nobody's required to use GPS.
but it's better.
Exactly
Right, that's my point. And oil and energy is better. People need energy. And a lot of the suggestions from governments is let's use less.
Okay, so bear with me, John.
Yeah, please.
Let's switch to a different problem.
Let's do ACA. Let's do healthcare. Because that's another one that I think, in terms of its incentives and subsidies,
Yes.
but it's nudging a broken system.
Oh,
when we
okay, so
should
let's
be
go there
shoving.
by way of retirement saving. Because
Yes.
okay? Because
Let's
that
do it.
one, we did a little thing. All right, so one of the problems economists ignore is that people have self-control problems. We're fat.
Kings do too.
We drink too much. We don't save enough.
The dark vision.
Look around. Open your eyes.
Social Security was kind of a way to mitigate that, no?
Yeah, but it works pretty well for one segment, which is people who have regular low-paying jobs. The replacement rate is kind of okay, but if you're in and out, not so much. And for the upper middle class, Social Security isn't enough really to live on.
Mm-hmm.
And we used to have these old-fashioned defined benefit pension plans that guaranteed you an annuity depending on how much you made and how long you worked. Mm-hmm. And they got replaced with these 401k things.
Right. And those pensions were generally matched by employers, and they were part of the responsibility and compensation package that you would get from the old world of you went to work at a factory and you left it 45 years later.
Come out now.
Right, and you had no decisions to make. And with the new 401k, you had to join and decide how much to save and how to invest, and that was hard.
Mm-hmm.
So, and a lot of people in the early days of these didn't even join, and the company was matching their contributions. It's the dumbest thing. It's turning down free money.
Mm-hmm.
So how did we, I'm not going to say fix this, but improve it?
Mm-hmm.
One thing we did was we said it used to be if you wanted to be in the 401k, you had to fill out a form. We said, okay, let's change the default. People are good at doing nothing. So we send
You're
them.
not a fan of people, sir.
We go back, rewind the tape to the diagnosis of John, right?
Yes.
Okay, so you now get
Lips
Yeah.
parted,
you now get a message saying, "Welcome to our firm.
immense pain before
We're going to enroll you in the 401k plan unless you fill out this form."
Right. So you made it so that the opt-out took an action, whereas the opt-in did not take an action, therefore incentivizing the opt-in, which is the better outcome for people in terms of money.
Right, and incentivizing costs just by changing the box,
Stay there.
right? So again, regular economists would assume it doesn't matter what box is ticked.
Would they really? Like regular economists don't take into account pain in the ass? Like that level of it?
They would say the cost of ticking a box versus 6% of your salary. I mean, really?
Here's what I would say. Businesses understand that. That's why your credit card bill is unintelligible. Like when you read all that fine print, you have no idea what you're reading. And that's purpose obfuscation. It's purposeful. They understand that people aren't going to wade through that. They're not going to understand that, wait a minute, after 6 months, this goes up to 21%. They understand how to manipulate us all the time.
Absolutely. All right. We are exactly on the same page.
Yes. The system is designed to exploit us, and people don't have an ability to understand that because of the way that the system is allowed to be designed.
Right. And look, making it opt out
Far more special oil.
is good for people,
Tallow, wolfsbane,
and we improved pension plans just by switching which box is ticked.
No, that sounds like a very smart move.
But, of course, companies learn the same trick, not from us, or at least I'm not taking the
They're
blame.
reverse engineering, of course. Nabisco makes chips that they design them so that they're almost impossible not to eat. You get fat, and then Big Pharma makes GLP-1s, and that makes it so that you control your appetite. So then Nabisco has to engineer that to get past. I mean, this is the cycle of exploitation, and I mean, that gets back to the incentive here is greed. That's what we're doing, and that's why I'm saying nudges sometimes are inadequate, and shoves, yeah.
Okay, I totally agree. So far, the only thing we disagree about.
The Mets.
Yeah, okay. The two things we disagree about.
How long do you think it's going to take you to cook dinner tonight? What do you think it's going to take? 30 minutes, 60 minutes? It takes me about 4 hours because I like to have it roasted by the sun's heat. And put the ingredients together and just lay it on the windowsill. And whatever happens, happens. That's why I'm always hungry. But Factor is bringing you deliciousness in 2 minutes. 2 minutes. Factor meals are already made. Chefs, designed by dietitians, delivered to your door. You just heat it. 2 minutes. Not by the sun. However you heat things. They got proteins, they got veggies, healthy fats, no refined sugars, no artificial sweeteners, no refined seed oils. Seed oils. choose from 100 rotating meals every week. The meals are fresh. They're never frozen. There's no prep. There's no cleanup. There's no mental load involved in getting a healthy meal. Head to factormeals.com/TWS50off and use code TWS50off to get 50% off your first Factor box plus free breakfast for a year. That offer is only valid for new Factor customers with code qualifying auto-renewing subscription purchase. Make healthier eating easy with Factor.
The two things we disagree about are the Mets
Yeah.
and whether getting the prices right would be sufficient.
So let's look at the ACA, because the whole idea there is if we create a market for insurance, we'll get the prices right and we'll subsidize for the people who can't, because to get the market to be efficient, we need everybody to be in it. And to get the insurance companies to allow everybody to be in it, we're going to have to make sure that we subsidize them, because the markets include people with pre-existing conditions or people who are not healthy, and the insurance companies don't want to deal with that. So we do little nudges about, you can check this box because it's a very complicated market. And I look at that and think, we are papering over a broken system with nudges when we have to shove ourselves into what makes the most sense for healthcare, which every other developed country in the world has already realized, which is free market incentives don't work in a system with those kinds of externalities. Healthcare will never be a functioning market. And the system is designed to exploit people's need to not die. And by creating the ACA and all those other things, we're papering over what should be the reality of the system, which is centralizing it is the only way to create something that will efficiently help people not die. That's where I would crystallize my argument in all of this.
Right. And obviously we're going to have no listeners left if we we
don't have. Yeah. All right.
Yeah. If we go all the way down that path, here's what I will say. Mm-hmm. I was actually in the White House while the catastrophic website that was being designed for ACA, which crashed on the opening day, somebody was designing that. And I was talking to somebody. I said,
Wait, you were in the White House while that was going on?
While it was crashing, before that, when somebody was designing it. And I said, can I go talk to that guy? And they said, oh yeah, go see that guy. And they show me some screenshots. And so here's what a behavioral economist thinks about. Somebody had decided that the plans should be grouped into categories, and the categories should get labels of metals, like platinum, gold, silver, bronze.
Oh, sell like timeshares.
And so I said, why should we do this? And I never got an answer of what the theory was for why.
I think the theory is like credit cards. Like you get a platinum, you get a black card, you get one is basic, one is got some frills, the other is free drinks and food.
Right. Yeah. But then down at the bottom, there was another category, and it didn't get a medal. It was called catastrophic. I said, wait a minute. And so a catastrophic policy is one with a high deductible.
Mm-hmm. It only helps you if the shit hits the fan.
Yeah, but economists, a lot of economists would say that's probably the most efficient policy. But my comment to these guys was, wait, you're not calling one of the brands catastrophic, right? We've got platinum, gold, bronze, catastrophic. And they say, yeah, well, that's what economists call those plans.
But my comment would be catastrophic is how I would categorize the choice to treat healthcare like it's a product that companies like health insurers haven't already figured out how to exploit for maximum profit to the detriment of people who we always know people don't shop around for healthcare. Making it more transparent doesn't mean they'll shop around. They want to live. They want to go to the best doctor that they can who is nearest to them, especially in an emergency. They don't get a choice. And for us to continue to treat this as though it is some functioning market that we can do our usual games of subsidies and labeling to fix. That my point is that's a market that needs a shove.
Yeah. Okay, so I'm going to make 2 points.
Yeah.
One is some friends of mine and I ran a quick little experiment. Simply changing the name of the catastrophic policy to economy or value in our experiments reduced the number of uninsured by 10%.
I'd not eaten in.
Right.
That was good. It's better.
No. I'm not saying there isn't goods to be had through
all right,
that. But if
all right, that's
but
point one.
Let me say this. Are there still people who go bankrupt because they get sick? Have we fixed the problem?
No, we
that
have
needs
not.
to be?
No,
Are
we
there
have
still
not.
people that
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
So here's my
don't let perfect be the enemy of good is the point.
yes. And if we're striving for perfect, you're absolutely right, John, that there are vested interests. The hospitals, the insurance companies, the doctors that don't want nurses to be able to do a lot of stuff, and pharmacists are the most overtrained people in the economy because they end up working in some god-awful Walgreens or...
Right. Meanwhile, it's the benefit managers that are making all the money because they're the middlemen setting the prices.
Right.
If we allow ourselves to be satisfied by these incremental positives and not let perfect be the enemy of good, don't we lose sight of, don't let insane be the enemy of sane, or don't let sane be the enemy of insane. Like if we have a system that is like blatantly insane, aren't we, yes, you make all these improvements. I'm not suggesting that there will ever be anything that's perfect, but if we continue to accept such a broken and corrupted system as our only option is incremental improvements within that, aren't economists and policymakers and everyone else robbing us of an opportunity? Because sometimes you need to view it on, not to go with the other terms of economics, but the macro, not the micro.
Right. So what I would say is, Mark Cuban has a little company that...
Sure. It's very smart.
Very smart.
But why does the government do that?
Well, because all of the vested interests...
But that's my... Okay.
Well, but
that's
look,
my point.
Okay, but look, suppose you say Medicare for all.
Medicare for all that want it. Yes, great.
Well, then, right. So language matters.
Sure.
And
having a system that people can buy into. Anybody that wants to join a system so that you remove the possibility of going bankrupt because you get sick, to me, is like the baseline of a healthy society.
Well, so I would go further.
Yeah,
my
please.
plan would be, if we're going to start with something, I wouldn't start with that.
Okay.
I would start with catastrophic insurance for free for everyone.
Okay. Now we're getting somewhere. That's what I'm a behavioral economist. I'm with
All
you,
right.
baby.
All right, you've
Let's go,
graduated.
Mets.
Sure, your
Let's
wife
go,
and daughter weren't
Mets.
being
Oh, he was so close. He was almost there, you know. So we can't ignore all the vested interests.
No, but they're the ones we should be nudging and shoving, not consumers. I think we're always shoving on the wrong end of the horse.
Well, but the problem is that there's all those vested interests have lots of money,
Right.
and they support both parties, and they will make it difficult.
But that's the job of governance. I would say, here's what I would love for economists, and behavioral economists, I think, could play a big part in this, is to help us understand that, the founders looked at the system and said, there's going to be a balance, a power, checks and balances between the executive and the judiciary and the legislative. But there's another power, and that's corporate power. And it's really the fourth branch of government and maybe one of the most influential branches. And the only thing that we have in this country that is powerful enough to in any way mitigate that is the government. And if the government refuses to take a courageous stand in mitigating that the damage of greed. I remember Alan Greenspan was on my show in like 2008, 2009.
That must have been exciting.
Oh, it was. He was only at that time. I think he was He was 98. He might have been 103 at that time. And I asked him, the financial crisis of 2008, like what the hell happened? And he goes, I think we overestimated the bank's ability to regulate themselves.
Yeah.
And I was like, do you mean you were idiots? Because that's insane.
Well, but the Fed is probably you could argue the best functioning branch of the government.
The kind you take pins to hurt someone.
And certainly you can argue it's got the best, at least right now, best trained people working for them, and it's a well-functioning branch of the government. And that may all change.
I believe the plan is already in place to knock down the East Wing of the Fed. And listen,
we have a mutual friend, Austin Goolsbee.
Oh, I love the Goolsbee. Love him.
And he's the president of the Chicago Fed.
Come on, I love Goolsbee.
Yeah.
Tell him I said hello. Tell him to come on this show.
Well, right now,
he's in the Fed. He's not allowed to talk much.
Yeah. And anyway,
that's tough on him. He's funny. He's actually really funny.
No, he's very funny.
Yeah. I like Goolsbee.
So where were we?
We were tearing down the fabric of capitalist institutions and reforming them. All right.
The problem is we wouldn't know where to start. And there's just if Mark Cuban can't do it, I mean, I don't know, just any one step. So like my version of free catastrophic for all, I think is a good place to start, but it wouldn't eliminate the power of the American Medical Association to limit what physicians' assistants can do, and the insurance companies, and
I understand
all the benefit managers and all the layers. It's above my pay grade to think about.
No, I understand. And you know what? It's a great place, I think, and I've so appreciated your time and your office hours. You've been so generous with them. And, I was taking this thing pass fail anyway. So the idea that you gave me all this time.
No, I don't allow pass fail.
What?
No.
I'm not going near you, man.
But, there's grade non-disclosure.
That's where I'm at.
So
let's do that. Let's do that.
Yeah. Okay.
But I think the point that I think maybe I love coming to is this. I love the idea of those really smart incentivized nudges and those things, but not allowing that to remove our higher aspiration of actually looking at the logistics and the guts of something and getting systems that are not as exploitative. That, government has to have a larger role in mitigating the damage. Look, capitalism is the operating system we have.
Yeah.
But it's clearly not a free market. It's intervened in by governments and all kinds of other corrupt actors and the crony capitalism that goes along with it. And my point is, let's continue to do those really smart things that you're talking about, but we cannot lose sight of the larger goal, which is that a government has to be there to help mitigate the collateral damage that the operating system we've chosen to use often creates.
Yeah, and we need another show, John, to figure out how to get there.
Oh, but we will. We can. Yes, we can. The audacity of hope, baby.
It gets interesting. Piece of wood looks like the stem of that
You're a good man. Professor, thank you for joining us. Professor Richard Thaler, University of Chicago, and one of the founding fathers of behavioral economics, the 2017 Nobel Prize in Econ, which is sitting on Donald Trump's fireplace mantle as we speak.
But is up for sale.
Up for sale.
Up for sale for
Whoever
the highest
wants.
bid.
You know what? And you can get that and a Cornell mug, I'm assuming, for just $7 more.
Or a nudge mug. There you go.
deep mix. Hit with a heavy lift.
Excellent product placement. Thank you so much, Professor.
Thank you, John. Pleasure to meet you.
Pleasure to meet you, too. Hey, folks, it's Quince time. Today's sponsor, Quince, helps you forget about all the fashion nightmares. Quince, they bring together the premium materials, the thoughtful design, the quality.
Trail breaks off.
You stay warm, you look sharp, you feel your best. Each piece made from premium materials by trusted factories that meet rigorous standards for craftsmanship and ethical production.
Question is,
But they cut out the middleman. Oh, I don't like middlemen. Do you like middlemen? Maybe you're a middleman. Maybe you do like middlemen. But you cut out the middlemen and you cut out the traditional markups. Quince delivers the same quality as these luxury brands at a fraction of the price. Refresh your winter wardrobe with Quince. Go to quince.com/TWS for free shipping on your order and a 365-day returns. Now available in Canada, too. That's Quince, QUINCE.com/TWS. Free shipping and 365-day returns. Quince.com/TWS. Man, my favorite part of the interview, if I may,
Yes.
was how slowly he talked to try and, I really felt like, I think he was about like 10 minutes into it when he was like, I'm going to have to change my tact here because little brain is not.
No. Yeah, I don't think he was expecting that conversation. My favorite part was when he psychoanalyzed you. I think that was the first time that's happened on the pod.
That is right. I got to tell you, though, he kind of fucking nailed it.
I mean, they don't give out Nobel Prizes for nothing, you know?
No, I thought he did an excellent job. Did any of that resonate, though, with you guys? I think I get where he's coming from with that idea of like, don't let perfect be the enemy of good. But I don't know that if it's not to suggest that incrementalism isn't still a part of the equation.
Of course.
But I don't know if they understand the general frustration within the public.
100%. I thought it was incredibly illuminating that a conversation about healthcare, his grievance or what his brain went to was the categorization of shitty plans. Like not having those categories, explaining in really big print exactly what these plans do does not mean they don't all suck still.
Yeah, I think it's like, so if economists argue that you should choose the catastrophic plan because that would be optimal, and then behavioral economists argue we need to change the name because people aren't choosing the most optimal plan, then we need to find someone that will argue that the problem is actually that the most optimal plan is a plan that you will go broke if you need to use. Like, that's the real problem here.
That was trying to explain, like, aren't you just, like, polishing turds at that point? But I get his point that there is, like, you did help some people. But I think sometimes that gives you license to ignore the larger totality of climate change, healthcare, by incrementalizing, you also are forgetting that you have to maximize as well.
Big structural change.
Thank you.
Well, I was thinking a little bit when you were bringing up the subsidies, that's a shove, right? And if we just think about the subsidy itself, the shove is even small in comparison to what we should be doing. We take away the subsidy, 1.5 million people drop out of the ACA marketplace. Those are the people who are young, who are holding up the system for like the 5% of people who are really using it. But the whole thing's going to start crumbling because of this shove that was supposed to be a fix, which it's not.
That's right. I mean, I almost think he would still categorize subsidy as like a nudge, and the shove would be the redesign of it. But they don't, boy, I thought he got really like, that was where he was like uncomfortable. Like, you can't just, you can't bring your weight on insurance companies. That's not right.
His pauses got longer in those moments.
He just got sad. That's when he went to like, you're a Mets fan, aren't you? But anyway, it was very interesting, very, very illuminating, I think, for me. What about Brittany? What do we got for the listeners there? What do they got there? What do they want?
Alrighty. First up, we've got John. Of all the Trump news this week, which development worried you the most?
Oh, I think the election, with all the elites are going to get out of everything. I'm sort of accustomed to, as we said on the show last night, the real sanctuary city in this country, which is this privileged class that there is no crime they can commit that would have any kind of accountability to it. But it was the raid on the Fulton County electoral board, along with his offhand remark about nationalizing the election only in, I think, the 15 states that caused him a problem.
I'm just spitballing here, but what if we nationalize the elections in the 15 states that caused me a problem?
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, he's going to end up tariffing states to get them.
Lord.
And this was like a small related situation, but he actually called Tulsi Gabbard after assigning her that mission. Trump was just on the phone with her while
Why is he even assigning her anyway? What the fuck is the president assigning the DNI to an FBI? He's not supposed to be assigning the FBI to stuff. They're supposed to be independent.
And she's also under some top secret investigation while this is all going on. The whole thing's a mess, but I agree with you.
Do you know what the investigation is?
No, it's top secret. It's like locked away so that even Congress doesn't know because they don't want it to get out.
It's in a safe, literally.
I bet it's about the streak in the hair. No one knows. No. It's the streak. People are going to say, what is that? That's clearly she's giving a sign to somebody.
Yeah, holds our secrets in that.
Is it Putin?
Yeah.
Is that who would? Yeah, no, I agree with you. And the problem is you don't ever think there'll be no accountability for any of them in the first place anyway. So they're operating under, as they would say, as J.D. Vance would say, absolute immunity, which is a fucking ridiculousness. What else do they want? What else do these viewers, listeners? Yeah.
Why can Trump threaten to sue everyone for $1 gazillion, but no one can sue him back?
That is a Zen Cohen. That is, I think I might have that. I believe that might have been a fortune cookie that I got the other day. That's one of those, the Buddhists will go to a monastery and they will sit there in silence for years, pondering the question of why Trump. Now, to be fair, no one has been sued more than Donald Trump, in my estimate. Like, if you go through his construction records, every fucking contractor he's ever worked with is like, hey man, you still owe me 15% of the money. And he's like, come and get me.
Try it.
He's a victim, yeah.
Poor, sweet billionaire president. Ooh.
There have been some recent suits, but I think that, he's making so much money off the presidency, he could probably go on forever, whereas people can't afford to continue these suits.
Oh, the Supreme Court made it basically so that, like, he kind of, no matter what he does, it's sort of in the guise of his presidential duties. Mm-hmm. You're not even allowed to do discovery. I think part of why you can't sue him is like, I'm suing you. Great. What evidence do you have? Well, I'd like to see your emails. Boy, I'd love to, but I don't have to. But his, it's interesting. The mindset that he had as, running Trump Enterprises is the same as he has when it comes to be president. It's the exploitation he did, like, on all of his contractors. People don't realize, like, so many contractors in New York City fucking hate that guy. Because his whole strategy was, I'll pay you just enough money to satisfy a certain portion of the contract, but I won't pay you the final 10 or 15%, knowing that you, as a small contractor, the hassle and money it will take you to try and recoup that won't be worth it. And so I will get myself 10 to 15% off of everything that I do.
That's behavioral economics, right?
Jillian Spear,
tying it all
together. One more question.
Alrighty.
All right.
John, which Super Bowl halftime show will you be watching? Bad Bunny or Kid Rock?
Puppy Bowl.
There's already counter programming. If only Turning Point USA.
No, I always watch the Super Bowl halftime show. I don't particularly care who's on it. It's a continuity issue, behavioral economics, status quo thinking.
Nice.
Inertia.
I feel bad for, not bad, but he's a superstar, but Bad Bunny, like, the shit this guy's he reaches the pinnacle of his professional career and a kind of global superstar to get the opportunity to do a halftime show. The guy's clearly a fucking extraordinary musician and entertainer who's earned this place. And the idea that he's facing a backlash, my favorite backlash to it is, you got to get a fucking American in there. And you're like,
yeah. Read a fucking book.
Right? The Jillian sigh tells us all we need to know.
It drives me crazy. I love Bad Bunny. Like, he's going to kill it. I can't wait.
Benito!
That's why I'm tuning
so
in. The game's going to be a blowout.
He's wonderful. He just won 3 Grammys Sunday night.
Right.
Plus, he's really hot. So.
Really?
He has Kid Rock beat in that element, for sure.
Yeah.
Wait, so the Bad Bunny also has a little bit of a machismo, a little bit of a vibe going.
Oh, yeah.
Interesting. But to be a musician versus a comedian, this comedian, it's never done about comedians. It's always musicians. People love it's something with the hips not lying. Well, listen, very, very lovely, guys. Thank you once again. Brittany, how do they stay in touch with us for all this?
Twitter, we are Weekly Show Pod. Instagram, Threads, TikTok, Blue Sky, we are Weekly Show Podcast. And you can subscribe, and comment on our YouTube channel, The Weekly Show with Jon Stewart.
And Instagram, baby, if you want to see all of my nasal pores. Join me on my page. Thank you guys so much. Lead producer Lauren Walker, producer Brittany Mimetovic, producer Jillian Spear, video editor and engineer Rob Vitola, audio editor and engineer Nicole Boyce, executive producers Chris McShane and Katie Gray. We will see you guys next time. The Weekly Show with Jon Stewart is a Comedy Central podcast. It's produced by Paramount Audio and Busboy Productions.
Yay to Bruce, the streaming king.
With quantum fiber internet, he's gonna binge.
He wants more, he's got to have more.
More bedtime true crime.
More podcasts in the shower.
Quantum fiber Wi-Fi has the power. More.
Fast internet speed. He's got the geeks to go big. Bring him the game
right now.
And his royal we.
More sports non-stop. His quantum fiber's on top. Yay to you.
Switch today at quantumfiber.com. Limited availability, service, and speed in select locations only.
I do dog walking on the side, and one day I got this new dog. First day out walking it, lunged at my face, practically tore off my nose. After it was all over was the pain. I couldn't look in the mirror. I decided to call the advocates. They walked me through every step, and I never saw a single bill. Got me a settlement that covered everything.
I'm Matt with the Advocates Injury Lawyers.
With us, you can focus on healing from a dog bite, and we'll handle everything else.
Paramount Podcasts.